When I was a kid growing up in Vietnam, it was great. My father, he was in the Air Force, and so he sent the kids, my sibling, up to my grandparents during the school year to go to school, sort of away from the war and the fighting. And so as a kid growing up in Vietnam, it's great. We were shielded from the war, and all we knew was having fun as a kid in Vietnam. One of the summers when I came home, this was I believe the summer of 1975. This is the fall of Saigon, and all I knew was we just had to pack up and start going. Going where, I don't know. To our good fortune, my father, he was befriended one of his friends who was a naval officer, and he was able to get us onto one of the Vietnamese Navy ship. And from there, we just left Vietnam. The Vietnamese ship just took us to, from the story that I can gather, to this Guam, which is an island. It's a U.S. Island base. That's where the paperwork began to process for us to come to the United States. So it wasn't by choice that we were coming to the United States. It's just fortunate that we landed on one of the U.S. base that processed us to come to the United States. We settled in Guam for just a few weeks to process paperwork, and then ultimately we settled in the United States itself, in Pennsylvania, in Indian Town Gap. It's a military camp. During that process, we're waiting to learn some English to get us acclimated to the United States, and waiting for sponsorship to get us out into the community. A farmer in Wisconsin, he sponsored us, and as you can imagine, coming from a tropical country in the middle of the frozen tundra, they call it in Wisconsin, during the winter month, working on farm. For my family, it was a very tough adjustment to that. After about a year when we're in that farming community, my father decided to leave that farm and move to La Crosse, Wisconsin. When we're growing up, all we talked was in English. My parents, they try their best trying to get us to speak Vietnamese, but when you're spending 10, 12 hours a day with your American friends, you begin to talk English all day long. And so that's certainly one of the things that we sort of lose out is our language. And when I met my wife, I moved to the Twin City. There's a larger Vietnamese community. And so I really wanted to learn to speak the language again. And certainly the Vietnamese community, they still poke fun at me for my accent of speaking in Vietnamese. So now I have an accent in English, now I have an accent in Vietnamese. So both sides are poking fun at me. Over a period of time, I can begin to see a little bit of the biases, a little bit of the racism going on. When you get a little bit older, you begin to pick that up. And that's the time when, you really trying to focus back to your culture and really understand and rein you in and say, is this really your culture or is this your culture? And that's the time when I realized, it's important for me to really understand my Vietnamese culture again. After graduating from college, I was in corporate America, moving throughout the United States. My wife and I, we had ended up having 3 kids, and we felt that it's time to, or at least both she and I, we felt that it was time for us to move back closer to our family because of the 3 kids. My parents living in La Crosse, and my wife's family, the vast majority of her family live here in the Twin Cities, so that's the reason why we moved back here. We had the opportunity to start up a small restaurant in South Minneapolis called Pham's Deli, and we jumped at the chance to start up this business. The business, it's flourishing, it's doing well. And we're about to start up a second location called Prime Burgers and Wings over in St. Paul. So the life in the United States has provided us some great opportunity to chase that American dream that most people have talked about.